All right, I would like to call the Commissioners' meeting of November 10th to order. Would everyone please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would like to have a moment of silence specifically for Mary Lou Wagner, who is a friend of ours and Township Supervisor from Cherry Grove. Thank you. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and anything said in it will be part of public record. It will be in a minute. Okay, now the meeting is being recorded. Well, bother, I forgot to look up the executive sessions. We did have an executive session since the last time we met. I believe it was last Monday, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That's correct. That's, yes, November 2nd. I don't believe we had any others. Probably because most of the last week has been a public advertised election meeting.
Correct.
The other executive session was within the last board commissioners meeting.
That's right, we retired to executive session, that's correct. All right, and the topic of November 2nd was various litigation, including the Trump law, the various lawsuits pertaining to the election
Yes.
and an assessment
Yes.
case. That's correct. Okay. Correspondence. I have two things to bring to the table. We have two requests for letters of support. One is from the Protective Services class at the high school, and the second is from Revitalization of Youngsville. So Pam, would you please draft them up and send them out to us, and we'll just approve them via email, but I want to make that public announcement. This time I'd ask if there's any public comment about anything that's not on the agenda. Hearing none. On the agenda today, we will be reading the Grief Awareness Month Proclamation and doing all the normal reports. We have the CARES Act allocations, including the third and final SBG allocation, and then repository bids, tax anticipation note, CDBG award, and we'll be making an announcement about the budget review. That's it. Did I miss anything? Very good. Then have you had a chance to look at the October 28th minutes? Do you have any amendments, corrections, questions?
I do not.
Hearing none, then I'd ask Mr. Hearn, who's joining us on the phone, to present the finance report and the human resources report.
Good afternoon. You should have both in front of you. The general fund has just over $4,041,000 in it, and the Erie bank account has $650,000. We should know, so far I think we're doing pretty well on revenues year to date. We're still in line with where we've been historically. This is the last month for the property tax to come in, so hopefully in the next 2 weeks we'll get the vast majority of those coming in. Relative to the HR report, in October we had 3 new hires. George Delonis on October 5th, Human Services as a caseworker, the rate of $17.51. We had Wallace Hardy start on the 13th of October, maintenance, part-time maintenance specialist at $13.75. And Haley Spicer on October 19th, children youth caseworker, $16.29. Relative to the changes, we had one part-time corrections officer moved to full-time at a rate of $14.17. That was Savannah Trisket. And separations, we had Tori Hoover on the 3rd of October from the jail, Kennedy Ruger on the 9th from Human Services, Kelly Eckman also on the 9th from Human Services, Michelle Spencer on the 16th from the Patontary's office, and Jason Yeagle on October 23rd at the jail.
Any questions?
Any questions on either?
I'd just like to note that it looks like our general fund account is well in advance of where it was a year ago. So 3.4 million, looks like it was in the general fund as of 11/13/19, and we're just a touch over 4. So I'm very thrilled about that.
Yeah, I'm happy too, especially with all the unknowns from COVID this year. So.
Right,
We may have had a payment come in sooner this year than last year that could have bumped that up.
could move that, sure.
Yeah, we'll really look at
Yeah,
that.
there's usually, I usually put about plus or minus $500,000 between last year and this year, because there could be, 1 week of payroll, sometimes there's payroll in there, for, that's off a week, so there's all those fluctuations and there's some timing issues, but yeah, definitely, I'd rather have this snapshot than the opposite.
Mm-hmm,
For sure.
sure.
The Erie Bank account, I'm not sure if you do this, but we loaned ourselves some money last year out of our own Erie Bank account in order to not draw more on the TAN, and that's why that's higher. We paid the account back at some point earlier this year.
And we also loaned ourselves a little, I think it was for the jail locking
Oh,
mechanism.
that's right.
I remember,
That's
that
correct.
was about 200,000, that was the 200,000 differential there.
You're right. That was what the purpose was, because we were in the midst of financing it.
We did do the TAN as well, but that was a $500,000 bridge loan, and then the locking mechanism was 200, so that's what, I think that's the difference here on that report.
Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
All right, very good.
Yep.
The monthly department head reports are attached. We received one from planning and zoning, which we thought was very comprehensive, one from fiscal, one from CYS, and the DPS not submit one this year. Veterans Affairs. So next month I hope to complete this out and get all the remaining, they're called them stragglers, caught up on monthly department reports. But certainly by the beginning of the year, I'd like to get that finalized so
I think
that,
everyone's doing a good job.
yeah, I'm very pleased with these
Yeah.
reports.
Yes.
Very pleased with them. All right, we have one proclamation on the agenda, and at this time I'd like to, first of all, ask Commissioner Durbin to read the proclamation, but also apologize instead of you, because I was unaware of that you were here for that proclamation, so I realized people have been waiting an hour at this point and just wanted to keep moving. If I had known that you were there specifically for that proclamation, you certainly would have read it and taken the picture and everything.
Well, thank you for the second opportunity.
Right.
Yeah, well, we're happy to provide it. I sincerely apologize. So we have the signed version ready to go for the picture. So would you please read it?
Sure. Just step back here so I can take my mask off. Whereas November is National Hospice and Palliative Care Month, therefore the Shoreman Center, a place for healing and loss, an outreach of Hospice of Warren County, acknowledges the importance of grief awareness. And the Shoreman Center, an outreach of Hospice of Warren County, acknowledges the 2 million deaths in the U.S. each year, which impacts 20 million people. And because grieving is a natural and normal response to death and other losses, all persons are urged to be sensitive and supportive of their families, neighbors, friends, and colleagues who are adjusting to a significant loss in their lives. And time set aside for grief awareness will heighten awareness of our human mortality and address our common need for mourning and healing, and will promote spiritual, mental, physical, and emotional health. And the Shoreman Center, an outreach of Hospice of Warren County, therefore encourages businesses, schools, faith communities, healthcare organizations, civic groups, and neighbors to join them in observing this special time of grief awareness of every person's right to grieve in the face of death and loss. Purpose of grief awareness is to help the community realize that grief is not an event, but a process. Too often in our society, it is believed that after a few first weeks, life continues on as before the death of a loved one. Now therefore be it resolved that Warren County, along with the Shoreman Center, an outreach of Hospice of Warren County encourages everyone to join us in observing the month of November as Grief Awareness Month in recognition of every person's right to grieve in the face of death and loss. Adopted this 10th day of November, 2020.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate your formally reading that proclamation and recognizing that the Shoreman Center continuously offers services free of charge to all members of our community, not just hospice families, particularly now when COVID is really kind of magnifying the emotions that people are feeling. It's important for us to be able to get the word out that we are there and available to all the members of the county if they need us. So thank you very, very much for reading that.
We're so happy that the Shoreman Center was created, and Mary Shoreman touched a lot of people's lives in a very positive way.
Yep.
As a personal friend as well.
Mhm.
So it makes me pleased to see her name in the center.
Yes, it's very appropriate. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Would you like to get a picture?
Thanks.
You want to do it in the hall?
Yeah.
We can't really spread out very much here.
Yeah, why don't we step in the hallway?
Can we do the camera?
No, can I use Jeff's phone?
Yeah, you can use
Oh, now you guys have snow.
it. Yeah.
Oh.
Those pictures of my kids on there are just so shocking.
I remember seeing a meme that said a reporter's phone is photos of their kids and photos of court documents. It's about right. Yeah.
Very much.
Okay, old business, CARES Act. Start with the small requests. So these are all things that were previously allocated. These are not new requests, they're just they're requests to fulfill the current allocations. So Spring Creek was allocated $5,000, North Warren was allocated $5,000. The capture shields for the sheriff's office, I don't think is a CARES Act, so I think that should be stricken from this list. The fire police, I recommend $1,000 out of the municipal fire and EMS. DAV, I would recommend tabling that. I think that there's a willingness on behalf of the board to do something for the Disabled Veterans of American group. That said, I believe they're 501c4.
Yeah, I did note that they are 501c4 as part of their request back in August. So I think we need to maybe think through that a little bit, given their
Right.
EIN status.
Well, Commissioner Eggleston, this might be a good time for you to talk about an idea that you raised a couple months ago.
Yeah, so we've researched it and we think that there's a way to address some of the 501c4 issues by doing a program that would be similar to the SBG, except it would be specific to these organizations that were left out because of their status. Basically, there's the ability via a read of the regulations from the Treasury that we would be able to kind of set up a program in order to address these folks. And so we can't say for certain right now like what the amounts would be or what, but I think what I'd like to do is put a proposal together for our next meeting in 2 weeks, and then have it for that, so that we can, and circulate it around so that we can then vote on it, so that we could then have something for December, because I think that there would be enough time to reach out to the folks that have already reached out to us and have some kind of formal process for that. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, we'll look
I
forward
think
to
that's
it.
a fair assessment program, okay?
Okay,
So we'll table that one as well.
Jefferson DeFreeze. So this one doesn't fit in one of our existing buckets very well, but it's very clearly COVID related. One of the things that we all noticed when COVID struck was the fact that restaurants and such were closed. The other thing was there was food shortages in some instances. As a consequence, you had people that are not necessarily used to cooking as much needing to cook. And some people, particularly related to the Jefferson DeFreeze Center, did not know much about cooking at home and stretching their dollars and that sort of thing. So normally Penn State would run programs for like cooking classes, but due to COVID, they were not running them. Jefferson DeFreeze would like to essentially bridge that gap until Penn State Extension is able to offer those again. And they're asking us for $600 in order to buy various accoutrements and such so that they can use their existing kitchen to provide classes over the course of the next few months. I think the expectation is that Penn State Extension will be doing classes again in the summer next year, but right now they're definitely not doing in-person cooking classes. So it doesn't really fit within the SVG program because it's not like a revenue loss or something. It's also not really municipal related, but we had some, I think we have plenty of contingency for $600 that we can pull out of somewhere. So I'm inclined to do it. Let's just say out of the broadband amount.
Well, I think to some degree that does affect people, it addresses concerns of people who are affected by COVID.
Absolutely.
So it might be.
Well, I think it's definitely COVID related, it just doesn't fit within one of our normal buckets.
Right, then we
Oh,
had
the
initially
whole-
allocated.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
But it's $600, so I'm not worried about it.
Those buckets are big and they have a lot of holes in them.
Okay, so next, there are two technology things I just want to talk about. Well, we could vote on them if you want. One is a quote that Brian sent up related to IT. When they went to do the Vision software upgrade, they found that something else was also not updated. So they're asking to increase the Vision software by $3,876.28 in order to accommodate a SQL database update. I think that's pretty straightforward, and I'm inclined to throw it on there if you don't have an objection. IT.
I think with the.
Okay. IT also sent up a series of requests. Only one of them was an actual quote, though. All of these, again, are things that we anticipated. Some more laptops. Like we've already previously approved some laptops that they wanted. IT's requesting a few more. There's something related to a server for remote access that they're looking to do, but I don't have those literal quotes in hand right now, so I can't bring them up for a vote. The one that they did submit was something that we haven't talked about in a while, which was upgrading the jail intercom system. About half of the intercom speakers and that sort of thing are broken, from what I understand. I don't know how old they are, but having seen them, they look pretty old. As a consequence, that means that you have to send in deputy corrections officers to personally speak with inmates and that sort of thing, whereas that kind of contact would be much less if they had a working intercom system. So IT's basically said we could just do it in-house and just replace the existing system using our current phone system. At a cost of $15,569. So what would the board's interest be in entertaining that?
And that is a quote.
That is an actual quote.
That's an actual quote for, yes.
It needs to get done. It's needed to get done for a while. It's so funny.
I'm surprised that they missed it when they did the jail overhaul.
Yeah.
Well,
It's one
there's-
of those things we cut out.
There's
Oh,
so
okay,
much
got
to
it.
do.
Got it.
And I think that,
Well, actually, the main thing was the phone system was really new at that point. When we first did that analysis, and the cost of replacing the system outright with a legacy system was like $30,000 or something, and we just said, no, we're
Yeah.
not doing that. Now that we're pretty comfortable with this phone system and it's proven to be reliable, I'm more inclined at half that price
yeah.
to go with it.
I think the other thing is we, you know, it's not something that, I mean, there were other problems that were so pervasive, you know, that people have,
Like jail locks not
yeah, I
working.
mean, people have dealt with that intercom system for so long, they're used to it now.
Right, so not having the air conditioning units work was a
Yeah.
little more on the front of mind.
Yeah, we get a few more phone calls about that.
Right. I mean, I guess I'm assuming that there you have some capital allocation somewhere that we could utilize for this though, or
It was
not?
in the IT spreadsheet that I had sent over. I didn't have an exact number, I think this is $500 or $600 more than anticipated, but
Okay. I
yes.
mean, I'm supportive of making it part of the agenda.
All right, then I would recommend a motion for $5,000 for Spring Creek Fire Department, $5,000 for North Warren, strike Sheriff's Office, $1,000 for Warren County Fire Police, table the DAV, $600 for Jefferson DeFreeze, and approval of $3,876.68 for the sequel vision upgrade, and $15,569 for the jail intercom.
I will make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion to allocate the CARES Act money to these above stated, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. SBG, let me preface it by saying, we had talked about trying to increase the allocation for this third round from 500,000 to 700, excuse me, $750,000. I think that is still possible, but at least my recommendation today is that we go ahead and approve your allocation of $500,000 so that we get the money out on the street. And then as the state figures out what they're doing with the remainder of their CARES Act money, we'll have a better sense of how much, maybe we could even put a little bit more, depending on how much comes from the state in. So I would say at this point, my recommendation is we pay the third round as originally anticipated, and then everyone has what essentially we promised. We're not taking any new applicants, there's no round 4 or anything like that. But if funding would allow, then we could go back and increase the existing applications with a fourth, not round, but fourth allocation.
Tranche.
Sure, tranche, something like that. So is the board, what does the board think of that?
I'm fine with that. I think that there are other, I mean, I'd like to expand it, I just think that there's still stuff to address, municipal, county, and, I mean, and then the whole idea of the state having funding that's kind of looming, I think is another question mark. All of which someone's gonna have to make a decision on within the next month anyway, so.
Or else the money's going back to the feds.
Yeah, so, and I think that you'll see a resolution to that within the next few weeks when they're finalizing the budget for next year, or the second half of the year, I guess I should say.
And there are businesses on here that we still want to support, and I see there's, the difference between what we would be able to allocate with the 500 versus the 750,000. And not that we're not supportive of that. I think that we would just want to kind of keep those in maybe a holding pen for now. Allocate the 500,000 and then see how the rest of the funding squares out as we move along.
Well, and just to be clear, the majority of these ones in this second bucket had already previously received funding.
Right.
So it's not.
Is that correct?
Yeah, it's not that we're cutting out, these folks have been completely cut out of the program or something. It's they could have received maybe some additional funding.
Yeah, we're developing a report. I've got the round 1 and round 2, so we'll be able to provide you that list that evaluates all of the awardees in terms of the money that was awarded to each entity as a percentage of what their eligibility was. So we'll have a prioritized list that will be able to pare down through and determine how to distribute any additional funds beyond the round 3 500. So we've got a recommendation on 500 and 750 right now, but we can reconstruct that list for another final distribution, if you will,
Okay.
whenever that becomes available.
Well, and I think the only other thing I would suggest that's not part of the actual dollar amount or allocation is the process itself. In the event that we do get some additional swath of money, if there's anything that you feel or Kersey or others feel about the process that we can improve, might be something that we would want to discuss as well, so.
I think that I apologize for this report getting here as late as it did, but I think it reflects the depth at which we've been
Yes.
looking at going maybe further than was absolutely necessary, but it gave us a report and a recommendation to the county that we feel is totally defensible, is exceptionally equitable and fair to everybody involved. So it took longer to get us to that point, but I think, I believe that both Kersey and Haynes would agree that the system is working pretty effectively.
Okay, great.
But it's always good to throw that back out and say, okay, is there something else, a different way we should look at this?
Right.
For this, if there becomes another block of money to be distributed.
Right.
But round 3 was exceptionally busy. We had 67 applications for round 3 with a total request for assistance of about $2.6 million. The FRA reviews indicated it was about $2.5 million in eligible loss. Their independent recommendation, because the process, they don't see the cumulative results of their recommendations. And that totaled $1.34 million, and we had $500,000 to work with. So it becomes challenging and frustrating to see the depth of need and the ability of the resource and availability to match that. So.
Right.
I'd just like to say that I think that you guys have done an exceptional job, and I'm very happy with how this
Absolutely.
has turned out. This was invented in a very short span of time, and I realize that there's no way to make everyone happy, but I think that for the most part in bulk, you really did the best you could with what you had to work with, and as a result, by and large, what I've heard has been overwhelmingly positive about the program. So
I agree, there's certainly shorter ways to go about awarding money, but I think taking the additional time and really having a better, more intelligent view of the need, I think has served everybody across the board well.
And I think the other thing that's done is it's created accountability as well, that we can, and is defensible, as you say, and that's very important, as we are not sure what happens on the federal, state level with those allocations as they come in and audit them, so very much appreciated, great job. Did you happen to get any, have you spoken with business as a chamber that you hadn't spoken with before, like more exposure to what's going on in your world?
Yeah, I think we definitely have met business owners and conversed with them in a different way than one, and also some that we have not had conversation or relationships with before. So we certainly look forward to fostering them and continuing that beyond the cashing of the check.
Yeah, I think that's
So we
great.
keep them engaged in the community and
Right,
in the organization as well.
yeah, you're learning from each other maybe.
Yes.
All right,
Anything else that
so.
needs to be said? If not, I ask for a motion to approve the round 3 of the SBG as recommended.
I'll make that motion for the $500,000.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Final comments? All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise, motion carries.
All right.
Okay,
Great.
thank you very much, Jim.
Yes, thanks, Jim.
We have 3 repository tax bids on the agenda. One, listed November 4, 6197420 in Hiawatha Township. It's a mobile home owned by Joshua Stewart, bid on by Courtney Baxter for $800. Next, TD 1963881, Tidio Borough, Main Street, owned by Maurice Dickey, bid on by Donna Richard for $800. Next, Sierra Hotel 3574911, Sheffield Township, owned by Joyce Sumner, bid on by Charles Meeker for $401.51. Any questions? If not, I'd ask for a motion to approve the repository tax bids.
I'll make the motion to approve the repository tax bids.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is the award of the 2021 tax anticipation note. We opened the bids yesterday in our public work session, and the lowest, which really is incredibly low, came in at Key Bank. We have a lot of faith in Key Bank because we've worked with them now for several years as our I want to say 5. It may have been one more, but either way, we've used Key Bank for our tax anticipation note as well as our general fund now for quite a few years, and we've been very pleased with them. So I was glad to see that the bid came in as it did. It's $4 million per usual. Not that we have to draw down everything. It's revolving as, excuse me, it's non-revolving. Fixed rate, 0.98%. Any questions or comments?
I just like to say that I think that's a fantastic rate, and that I never in a million years would have thought we'd have a sub 1% rate on anything.
Yeah.
So, that's very beneficial to us.
Very much so.
All right, Eric, did you want to say anything about it?
No, I recommend Key Bank.
Okay. Nathaniel will be our attorney doing the counsel on this?
Yes, I confirmed that with Eric a few weeks ago.
All right. I'm going to ask for a motion to accept the bid from Key Bank.
I will accept the bid as stated in the proposal from Key Bank for a TAN of up to $4 million at a fixed rate of 0.98%.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded, discussion. All those in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is the award of CDBG project. Yesterday in our work session, you said that we probably move to the next, but we've stuck it on the agenda just in case we could get it together. I guess we already did review them and recommends an award to Tome Enterprises from here in Warren. This is for the demolition of blighted structure at 1 East Main Street in Youngsville. CDBG funds, their bid was for $37,800. I did want to let the board know that there was some consternation from at least one, if not more, bidders that they didn't understand the bid. I suppose the reason that a couple of them were higher was because they thought that they had to remove all of the
Asbestos.
not the asbestos, the
Debris.
debris, thank you. In fact, I read the bid myself. It does in fact say that you can leave things that are smaller than 6 inches. So I think the idea is you can't leave a massive hunk of concrete, but you could break it up and leave that in the foundation as fill. So I don't think that the concerns are founded. Again, I looked at the document myself. It very clearly stated that. So it does explain why the bids were varied, because there was a couple that were low and a couple that were high, but it's there in plain English. So I don't have a problem with approving the bid from Tome. As such, can I have a motion to do so?
I'll make that motion to demolish the blighted structure, hire Tome at $37,800.
I'll second that.
Motion made and seconded. Discussion?
I'd just like to say that this is a really great bid, especially since we had anticipated it being somewhere in the neighborhood of $60,000. So this will allow other funding to be available in CDBG for demolition. This was one of the properties that was in our blight grant. The reason that we're kind of moving forward with this is we got word that the grant isn't going to be awarded for a while. My assumption is that, I can't confirm this, but my assumption is that because of the budget discussion, I don't know if that's part of an issue, so this building's in a severe state, and so Lori kind of pushed to have it get taken care of quicker. Once this is demolished, and if we are awarded the grant, we'll probably come back because there's other properties that we can use that money for.
Sure. Okay. Any more discussion? I'll call the question. All those in favor of the motion to approve the bid from Tone, please say aye. Aye. Motion carries. I have one announcement related to the budget. The county will be releasing their first draft of the budget, our first draft of the budget on November 19th. I believe that's a Thursday. That would be 20 days in advance of the December meeting where we intend to vote on it. So the next work session, this coming Monday, the commissioners will discuss any changes that we want to make or any deliberation related to the budget, and then direct the fiscal office to make such changes and then release it that Thursday. So again, coming Monday, noon work session, we'll discuss budget. It will then be released realistically probably Wednesday because all of us are in a class on Thursday morning, but we will commit to noon Thursday, the 19th, releasing the budget. As a reminder, commissioners can make minor adjustments to it after that public release. So just because we leave it out for public review on the 19th doesn't mean that literally nothing will change. I think we can tinker with things up to about 1% of the budget without re-advertising it. I'm not sure of that exact number, but all I'm saying is that if we go through and shave a couple $100 here or add a couple $100 there, it's not a big deal, but anything that's a sweeping change would need to would force us to put the budget back out for another 20 days. I understand that correctly, Commissioner Robinson?
I think that we should double check that because I'm not 100% sure whether the code states that it can't be changed between the time it's for review. I think that my understanding of it, and this is something we want to double check and reread, is that it's open for 20 days. At the meeting that we vote on it, if we have to make a change, we make and deliberate at that. But everybody understands what the budget is at that point.
Right. Okay.
I can take a class.
Sure. It's right down in the code. So
Yeah,
There you go.
Yeah. Really should have just looked at it before. Man, I've looked at it the last few years, and I was just going off memory.
Yeah.
Just not probably the best at it. All right, anything else? The next meeting will probably have better commissioner comments at this point. I haven't had any. I know we both had board meetings this week, so we don't have anything to report.
Right.
The only thing I've been thinking about is just to reiterate how good of a job the elections department did. And I think that we should have a conversation at some point about doing something for the election department as a show of our gratitude for their work. Both Lisa and Crystal, Lisa obviously in particular, in a very challenging situation, performed about as well as they possibly could, I think.
Totally agreed.
So,
A lot of change.
Yeah.
well, I mean, everything changed. Their workload quadrupled probably, and then the tension and the concern. I mean, at every phase was heightened. So they were in the fourth quarter of a losing Super Bowl, and they pulled it off. So,
Okay.
well, I'm just trying to think of like a comparable performance.
There you
level.
No, they did a phenomenal job, and I think we want to think through, you know, the next election for the changes that we made in the process, and maybe just begin with those, you know, like the number of people volunteering and what that all looks like, so that we can be a little more prepared. Although, I have to say that the Planning and Zoning Department did a fabulous job, as well as
Yeah, that's-
Kim and Pam.
yeah.
I mean, they really took the,
All the staff that we just walked out in the hall was like, hey, raise your right hand. You're not
they
that.
took NCOs, they did their thing, they're like, and they just really knocked out those ballots, so it was really good.
Twice, we did that yesterday.
Yeah, we did that yesterday, yeah. So maybe if we plan for that, was my point,
Yeah.
going forward, then, you know, we'll have enough people.
I'd rather have them prepared, sworn in, and ready to do it than not needed. You know.
But yeah, I mean, if it was, you know, to launch the ship,
Oh,
you know, as you're
totally,
building it,
totally.
you know, I mean,
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
I think that for this one, I think the question is okay, at the end of it, did we feel like it went off as well as it could? And then now the question
I think,
is
yeah.
okay, what are, you know, what are all those processes gonna be?
Right. No, I think it went off fabulously, and I think that, you know, part of the reason for that was just being able to pull people in and have them willing to work.
Yeah, I mean, we ended up with 60, what number did I get, 67% turnout? Or was it 65?
Yeah, about that.
It was 67% turnout, which is
So,
extraordinary, generally speaking, and, you know, in a regular municipal election, you have like 25, you know what I mean? So,
yes.
like next year's election, even with the equipment changes and everything, and the assumption that the legislature's gonna change the law again, probably, that should be a cakewalk.
Well, and I think we had the right amount of equipment out there, which also made a difference, so
Yeah, very-
fortunately, we were prepared in advance for that, because that could have
Yeah.
also been potentially a nightmare.
Yeah.
And COVID, don't forget that.
Yeah.
Safe distancing for everyone. Crazy.
All
I
right,
think that's
there's
it.
nothing more than I'd ask for motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I
We're adjourned.